Today, there are so many playbooks available for startups. There's so many incubators, accelerators that founders know exactly the playbook what to do. We were just some three young entrepreneurs, and after a lot of hard work, we hit success. So we were just flowing along with that. So actually, raising funding and raising money is very serious business, and entrepreneurs should really think, and it requires enormous amount of time. It's not easy at all. See, if you go to 10 investor pitches and you're talking about that you'll be growing 4x, 5x, 10x, okay. As a serious entrepreneur, also thinking, how will I do it? Right? How will I execute 4x? And if I get so many orders, how will I execute downstream? Correct. So one of the things that we did when we raised money was we're flush with cash. $4 million in a company is like immense amount of money those days. And the money hits you to the bank. Firstly, the bank account, you can't believe that it
Did your banker call you?
Yeah, we are in the washroom, and the washroom has these automated urinals. And in 2005 or 6, this was fair novelty. Those sensor-based urinals were. And I remember we looked at that, I and Mohan and Murli. I think we've arrived, man. Look at it, in our office we've got a sensor-based urinal. Like today, for example, even in sports, right, when they back young players, the coach will say that, yeah, you are the star, that's it. You may be 21, that's okay. But you're a batsman, you're facing the world's best bowler, that's okay. But you are the star. Actually, even that communication helps to build confidence. You have to do that. So even if you raise capital, $4 million, you have to think that this will get over in maybe 3.5, 4 years. After 4 years, what will you do? And what is the next stage? So then, if at 4 years you need more money, then 1 year before that or 1.5 years before that, you have to start the work for fundraising. Yes. So you have to raise money when you already have money, and we are not in a bad dire straits, right?
Welcome back, Murli, for the second segment of this conversation. So the last time we had talked about how you started the company, what mindset you brought into it from your childhood, and then we had come all the way where you hit your first big contract of 1.2 CR, where even your client is shocked when he didn't realize that you had not done anything as big before. And then that same year, your projected growth was 1 CR, or your projected contract size was 1 CR, and then you hit 3.6 CR, 1.2 being Microsoft itself. And then you add on another floor to your office space, and the organization has suddenly gone ahead, 3x projections of your own. So at this stage, what is the mindset and what is the feeling of an entrepreneur? And is there a plan, or does it just take you along?
Okay, so good to be back, Shashank. Good to continue this conversation. Yeah, I think if you think back at those times, that was like a heady moment, and everything was going right for us, and magically the sales was happening, and we were just growing by leaps and bounds, right? I think it was also a result of a lot of the good work we did in our tough times. See, if you remember, we talked a little while earlier, saying that when the chips were down, but we never stopped meeting our clients and never stopped talking to prospective clients. I think this is one very good lesson for entrepreneurs, that even when the chips are down, don't think, and the customers are not really reacting positively to you, don't neglect talking to customers and talking about your business constantly, because maybe at that minute they can't support you, they can't give you business, but they'll always remember you when the going is good for them. And that's what was happening now. So this big contract also was a result of that, and many more followed, and that's how our revenues grew almost 5x in that single year, right? We went from almost about 60 lakhs to about 3.6 crores in that year. So then this was like one very heady moment for all of us. We had, after a lot of bad times, we had seen success as all the co-founders, and we were also very profitable at this point of time. And we're adding teams, we're growing processes, maturing them, and with a lot of gusto going to the market. And see, when you are successful, then it also naturally attracts a lot of clients. So because even the marketplace is watching you, and they're seeing that many other competitors are adopting your service, and more people flock to you. So this is the tendency that happens. So the year after that also, our growth was happening. And honestly speaking, while I can look back and I can make this into a nice theory, but we did not know what the next steps were, because if you remember, Shank, this was also 2005 India. Okay, not like the mature startup ecosystem of today, right? Today there are so many playbooks available for startups. There's so many incubators, accelerators, and other setups available. There's so much on YouTube available that founders know exactly the playbook, what to do. We were just some three young entrepreneurs, and after a lot of hard work, we hit success. So we were just flowing along with that. So, what one thing that happened this point of time is one of our clients was an IT company, which was funded by a very senior and reputed technology guy from the Silicon Valley. Okay, there's a guy called Ashish Gupta.
From Jungli.
Yeah, absolutely. So he founded Jungli.com, and earlier he was with Amazon, right? And he was a founder and maybe a co-founder in some senior role in one of the IT companies in Bangalore. And we were the IT company was our client. So in one of those conversations, the head of the recruitment of that company must have mentioned this to Ashish, and Ashish said, "Okay, I don't mind meeting them, something, some casual thing." And we landed up with meeting Ashish in one of the five-star hotels. And we went unprepared, all three of us. We didn't know why this meeting is happening, because he's not a customer. Already his company is a customer. So what else? And he's the board member of that company. We went there. And Ashish, had invested by that time in a lot of, and he was used to the Silicon Valley culture and stuff like that. So he immediately spotted some potential, but he was not sure of our story. So I remember he just said that all this is fine. Within 10 minutes, he had heard our story. He didn't want more details. He said, but what is the next step? What's the big deal out of this? You're profitable, you're growing well. At that point of time, I remember loosely, I, Mother and Mohan, in various like coffee or chai conversations, had thought of what this could be. See, entrepreneurs, you always think of the big picture, but right now you're in the middle of execution. So I remember I pulled out a paper. We'd not even taken a paper or something. I pulled out a paper napkin, typical, and then I drew out a 2x2. And I said, I drew four boxes, and I said, this is box number one where we're there, Ashish. This is the adjacent box, and these are the other two boxes which are possible. The moment, because when he first asked the question, three of us looked at each other and we were like fumbling with the answer. And then somehow I felt that we should make it structured, and I wrote that 2x2. The moment I completed the 2x2 and he was watching and he saw the other two boxes, I think something clicked for him. He said, "This is great. I think there is a roadmap, and this company can be big." But then he said, "It looks like as founders, you don't seem to have the appetite, because you are very happy right now. You are in a happy zone. You're just growing by normal incremental growth or whatever, right? You're not put this into plan." He says you should put into plan and you should raise capital. So our question was, why should we raise capital? We are very profitable. At 3.6, Shashank, we must have been at least about 20% profitable. So we're always making a crore and a half.
Wow. So, so you're sitting on money right now.
Money right now. In fact, the chart account is having a problem managing our income tax, because we say we don't want to pay so much of tax planning and all that discussion is happening. So here this guy is advising us to raise capital. So then we went back and we sort of thought about it a little bit. That's when the formal growth of the company started. That's when we figured out that, why we're sitting on maybe a 4-5 crore company right now. Maybe is this worth maybe 50 crores, 100 crores over it? And to get to that 50, 100 crores, it needs systematic visioning, systematic strategic planning and all that kind of a thing. That's the seed that he gave. Okay. So I think one lesson around here is that you need to, maybe as entrepreneurs, while your vision is very in a very fuzzy way, intangible way, you have articulated it, or very a verbal way, you need to put some structure onto that vision, put a goal, etc. This usually happens when you make your first PPT and deck. But typically after that, if you're in the rough and tumble of execution, you've forgotten that. You really forgotten that.
And especially when you're seeing good success, good revenues coming in.
And you're being very reactive to the market, right?
Correct.
So here, then this guy inspired us to do that. Okay. And then, such a great guy actually, and a great investor, I must say, continues to invest in Indian startup ecosystem even now. You know what he did? He immediately said, "I'd like to be an investor here."
Straight up after that meeting?
After that meeting. And Madan actually just said that, welcome, because he's an amazing guy. He's like a guy we dreamed to meet, right? So we said yes. But we are not, and we came back.
And
With a-
without realizing what is the
with
level
our
of
plan.
investment, any
yeah,
of that.
Yeah. He instinctively took a call. And 1 week later, he calls up actually and says, I want to put in money, yeah. Tell me how. So then Madan says, I've not thought of a structure. He says, don't worry about it. I'll transfer 25 lakhs to you.
Straight up.
Okay, straight up to your bank account. Okay, put it into in my account. You figure out what shares has to be. I don't care what shares you give me, whatever.
He just wanted to be a part of it.
Part of it, right?
So
And
what? So now 1 second. He just wanted to be a part of it after one meeting
yeah,
and seeing 4 squares.
yes.
Do you remember what were on those 4 squares?
I honestly don't remember very clearly, but I think what I'd said was that we are serving IT and BPO clients now, and the next box could be non-IT BPO clients, and the next box could be like public exams and stuff like that. So basically, our various market segments that
Okay.
we look at, and then also said retail assessment. These are corporate assessments. You can go to retail assessment. So basically, broad market segments are outlined, and it said that all these have much bigger potential than the segment we are sitting on today. That's what I'd think.
So that is when
it was not a very clearly articulated, like at a exactly a paper napkin kind of a thing.
So this is like a typical coffee shop startup meeting that happens with an
Absolutely.
investor.
Elevator
And-
pitch.
Elevator pitch, and then the paper napkin becomes the blueprint,
Yes.
and in just 4 quadrants.
Yes, absolutely.
So you had the segment you were catering to right now. Then you went non-BPO, governmental,
Yes.
and then you said retail.
Yes.
So right there, he's seeing, or at least what I assume he's seeing, is he's seeing 3x, 5x, 10x
Yes,
jumps
absolutely.
in your ambitions and the segments that are still untapped.
Absolutely.
So that in my mind, if I try to put myself in his shoes, I'll be like, hey, these guys are doing 3.6 now. They are targeting 10. And then when they go into public exams, when they go into government segments, they're going to go 20, 30, 40x.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's what he observed. Yes.
So you go in there, you get this an angel investor, and people will covet to even have this meeting, let alone sit down and
yeah. See, we didn't realize that actually when we were growing, but I think also it should match this with the innocence of 2004-5 when the ecosystem is not very mature and people don't know, right? But today I think startups realize this even much earlier. Even when they start the first company, they know at what level angel investors will flock to you, VCs will flock to you. They know all that game. Okay, but still, this is a good lesson for people who maybe are not familiar with this route. Okay. So that's what happened, and then we then with his guidance we sort of then started working with in a formal, preparing a deck and preparing a plan and all that. See, also one must realize that while this vision and all is nice to say, that's the seed, that's a kernel of any entrepreneurs input into the company, but it has to be backed up with hard thinking, planning, detailing. So that's very required. Well, these 4 squares, it looks like, okay, boss,
there's a vision document.
Yeah, I think instinctively he saw the vision, but he had seen that we were 4 years we were surviving, and we were 4 years we were executing. Right, so it's not that if in the first year if I'd gone with 4 squares, he would have put in 25 lakhs. He would not have done that. Right? You've seen really successful guys. For 4 years, you've survived. You have really struggled, and you built a company. You have tangible, real clients. You're making money, and these guys are saying something on a paper napkin. So that's the point.
So you came with 2-3 innings, a couple of centuries,
A lot of credibility.
yeah. And then you said, okay, I want to hit a triple century now. And
Absolutely.
he was like, okay, there is potential. I can actually back this guy up.
Absolutely. So then the next phase was for us to then put this into action in terms of a systematic plan. And we did that. And then we started going and raising serious capital. Right? So we went to various funds, we pitched, and then the whole standard Series A pitches happened. Right.
So how difficult was this period? Because till now, you're just executing,
Correct.
getting clients, you're in the operational mode.
Correct.
Now you've gotten into the documentation, valuation,
Correct.
pitch mode.
Yes.
It might sound similar to a sales pitch, but an investment pitch is completely different.
Yes.
What are the challenges and what is the groundwork that an entrepreneur should make sure that they have before they go in for a venture like this?
So actually raising funding and raising money is very serious business. Okay, and entrepreneurs should really think, and it requires enormous amount of time. It's not easy at all. Okay, so entrepreneurs should be very clear about when to raise funds, and they should devote time to it. Okay, so don't think that and devote lots of time, not less time, right? So in this context, it helps if you have multiple co-founders.
Okay.
See, one of the questions that comes up is, you should be a single founder, just two founders, or three founders. It helps if you have at least three founders. Two is minimum, but three or maybe even four helps if the synergy is good. Okay. The reason is, for example, we had three founders. Two of us could still focus on business. Okay. And the third founder could at least spend 50% of his time on fundraising, right? While the others are contributing maybe 20% of your time. And if the business is really growing fast, then even the 20% time is a big drain. Imagine
Yeah, it is.
if the business is going very fast and the customers to service, then you're already working 9 to 10 hours a day. In that, plus additional, if you have to put another 20%, you end up working 14, 15 hours a day, right? And those extra time that you require are odd times. Like you may be sitting with a big client meeting and then the investor meeting is happening somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So it's very, very chaotic. And investors also will not wait for you to this. So this is one part about the time being spent. So that's where that is one factor that you have to think through. Two is, see, while you're running a business with certain, when you actually prepare a pitch deck, one is the broader story, what markets, etc. But there is a lot of Excel data, Excel crunching, Excel financial modeling that is required. And that modeling is very intricate.
Okay.
Okay, people ask you, so there are experts to do this, there are investment bankers to do this. So my one advice would be that if you have a CFO in a company who's done this before, okay, who's raised funding before, then you definitely should rely on that person. But otherwise, you should definitely look for and hire an investment banker.
Okay.
And investment bankers typically take sometimes they take a fixed fee, a small fixed fee, and they take a large variable fee depending on success of the fundraising. Okay. Now, it may look very large. For example, if you raise like $2 million, they might take maybe 3-4% of that money. If you put $2 million in 3%, that's a lot of money. And you might think, yeah, this guy's taking my data only and telling me, but it's very important to give get the amount of money. It's very, very crucial. You should not, you can negotiate with the investment banker, but you should definitely, allocate that much of funding. So we got a investment banker, and that person, and the level of detailing and the level of granularity they want to see every metric, sales metrics or this thing, because they are trying to take your business as it is today, add about 4 to 5 crores of revenue, and they're trying to project what will happen to this when it becomes 30 crores. Okay, and when they have to project that, they need every little minute data point they need. For example, the customers also, they'll split up into a lot of granularity. They'll say number of customers, types of customers, categories of customers. They say pricing. They will say all that. They'll split it up into multiple. So even the revenue side itself is detailed like that. So this work you need to put in, and we actually realized this when we were doing it, and then we put in a lot of work to prepare that. Once you do that, then you have to think of this is just the basic. You have to describe your business in a very neat financial terms, and that is one part. And then you prepare a deck out of it. The deck is a story. What is the vision? How will you grow? And all that kind of a thing. But the financial model is supporting that, right? After this starts the song and dance, right?
Yeah.
Then you go and meet investors, and then you pitch and stuff like that. So that's the next phase. So this took us almost about a year, I think,
A whole year to
Yes.
come to a point where you can start pitching.
No, coming to a point is about 2-3 months.
2-3 months.
2-3 months. And then the pitching and the fundraising took about a year for us. And
Okay.
that is because also we are successful and we're doing well. And,
Yeah. So
and
there
the
was-
market was very upbeat at that point of time.
That I think 2005, 2006, when everything was going up.
Everything was going up.
Everything
Especially
was
for
going
us,
up.
everything was going up. And I think around the generally buoyancy in the market also was there. Was there.
So you go through this, and within about a year, how many funds did you actually have to speak to before you landed one? And
We spoke to many funds. We spoke to almost about maybe 20, 25, 30 funds we spoke to. And people speak to even more. Sometimes if your pitch is not going really well, people end up speaking to even 40, 50 funds. So that is where getting a good investment banker helps, because the investment banker is also able to decide and save your time in terms of which funds to pitch, which not to pitch, because they have worked with these funds for a long time, or they've observed the market for a long time. They know that these kind of funds will not invest in a. So we are like a skill HR kind of a idea. So they'll not if the fund is focusing on semiconductors or something like that, then they will not invest in this kind of an area, right? So that way, or SaaS platform or something. We're not a SaaS platform at all. So that those mistakes will be avoided if you have investment banker.
So many entrepreneurs, after coming to a stage, go through this problem. They just go speak to anybody and everybody possible, and they get
Yes.
this thing. So
Yes.
the lesson here is get an investment banker, get somebody who's an expert in the business, who's done it before. You concentrate on your business, allocate extra time, but go with the advice. Just like last time you told us that you have to get somebody who's good with this. Get a chartered accountant. Don't do your own
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Get them. It's an investment, but
Correct.
it'll free up your time and increase the success rate.
Correct. Absolutely. But one important thing you have to think is, you're the entrepreneur, you're selling the company. Okay. The investment banker cannot sell the company or sell the story of the company. Okay. They will tell you that these are the kind of funds to meet. They will help you with the documentation, and documentation is very detailed. That is very required. And they'll help you with, after you make the pitch, there'll be a lot of follow-on questions. They'll help you with many of those. They will at least tackle 50% of that before it comes to you. So your time is spent. And they also convince those people in those detailing kind of a thing, right? But the selling of the story is yours. So
Has
this is
to be.
another mistake that entrepreneurs make. They hire an investment banker and they think that, hey, it's his job to get me the funds. No, it's not his job. His job is to facilitate. He is like the coach. You still have to play the game, right? So that is one important thing. And so you also, when you're meeting investors, you have to keep your eyes and ears open, and understand what they're saying, why they're liking it, why they're not liking it, and also work with the investment banker to fine tune the story.
Okay.
It is not that he just tells you and you just go dryly go and pitch and then expect that magic will happen. No, it won't work. And your warmth and relationship building with investors is also important. They need to also feel the connect, that this is a
Correct.
great guy and I should back. And so finally, a lot of investment is maybe 50% data and 50% hope and relationship and warmth and belief in the guy, right? Because you're a 4 crore company and you're trying to tell him that you'll be 100 crore company. Okay, the 100 crore companies run very differently. 4 crore companies. So he has to believe that you are the 100 crore guy, right? So that belief will only come if you are able to establish a rapport. So this is something with the founders to remember, that you are selling the company. Don't over depend on the investment banker, but the investment banker is a good coach to help you through this process.
So you're meeting 25 people before you land your thing. So what kind of experience did you have? Was there a period after like meeting 5 or 6 and not getting through? Was there dejection? Was there ever a time you said, "Hey, why are we doing this?"
Yes. We went through all. So why we're very successful? See, that's what I'm saying. Our story does not. So each investment fund has a thesis of what kind of companies they want to invest in.
And they have their own plan of
Plans
projections.
of
Yeah.
thing and all that, right? And secondly, also, while you may be very successful, their belief that the future will be even better is not there, because your every startup is a unique business, right? The future of unless you're copying some model, and then it's easy to
Which
establish.
seldom works.
Happen.
Yeah.
Yes, right. No, but for example, things like Ola or whatever, Swiggy and all, they're largely copying other models which are there in the Western world. So you can at least still predict. Yeah, the only belief is that those customers are different, Indian customers are different. There's still one. But in what we were doing assessments, there was no model at all worldwide of a company like this. There were companies which are very public oriented, very different. Like ETS is a company which does the GRE exam, but ETS is very old, 50 years old, and they've grown with the America as a country, right? So we are like new age company, so no comparison at all. So that way, many people will not believe. So we went through our rejections and dejections and all that. So actually, while we were successful, our first 8-10 pitches I don't think went well at all. Okay, we were not we didn't hit the thing. So we are also wondering why is this, because we're coming from high. Ashish Gupta is on our board by the time he had come formally and all that, and then I was seeing what's happening. But I think this happens. For you to get the right fitment, it happens. At the end, about 2 or 3 funds then gave us the term sheet. So it's not a bad deal. 2 or 3 good funds. And even after when they gave the term sheet, there's intense negotiation, intense. They're fighting for every percentage point of stock and everything happening.
Did they ask you for people on your board and anything of that
all
sort?
that
All that
happens. All
happens.
that happens. All that happens.
And was your investment banker key, or Mr. Gupta also being on your board? Did
Actually,
that help?
yeah. Ashish being on the board helps a lot. See, that builds credibility. So imagine you're for 3 young entrepreneurs, and you're trying to sell a big dream. In that thing, if somebody like Ashish, who's a seasoned veteran and investor, entrepreneur with a success under his
And
belt,
at that point of time, coming back from the US.
yeah, US credibility is very,
Yeah.
very high. And also credibility of the people. See, a lot of times people are also afraid. Today, the ecosystem is a little different. I think investors are also chasing funds, but this can still happen. See, they don't know whether you will really take the money and actually execute or not. Because a lot of entrepreneurs take the money and then they just freak out, and then they spend the money, and so they're not very serious about that growth. They'll pretend they're serious but not be. So even those validations come because of people like Ashish being on the board also validates. And Ashish and we are not related, right? There's no
Correct.
relation.
Yeah.
So in that, we didn't go to the same school or college or whatever, right? So even with a third person party validating us also makes the investor very comfortable. So that is very, very important. So actually, that was a big factor. If I look back, that's a big factor. So if you're today raising, even before Ashish, we actually had built an advisory board.
Okay.
And we had very good people on our advisory board.
Okay.
Like we had the AICT chairman, retired AICT chairman. We had retired IIM Bangalore director. Then we had, earlier we had Dr. Raja Ramanna, the nuclear
Okay.
physicist on our board,
Huh.
advisory panel. Okay. And we had a guy called Mukul Sharma, who used to write a very famous puzzles column in Times of India. So he was a very famous puzzles freak. Okay, and he's no more now, but Mukul Sharma was one guy. So he was there on a board. So puzzles is about intellectual thing, aptitude. So we had brought so like that. And these guys were they just came onto the board because they liked the idea.
Okay.
We did not give them much stake or something. Some small stake would have given them. But see, that adds to credibility even in front of our first customers. So having an advisory board, don't get them onto a formal board of the company. Okay, but you can call it an advisory panel or something like that. And that also credibility building through people helps in the initial stage.
So was forming this advisory board and keeping them as advisors, was this an idea that you people came up with early on, or
Early on, yes.
Very early on.
This was almost in the first year of the company itself. See, what happened was, because we were talking about assessments, and as I was explaining earlier, assessments is very core to a company's internal recruitment process, right? So if I cheat in the assessment, then the wrong candidates will get in, and it's a big credibility, integrity black mark for the company, right? If somebody told you that a large multinational company, you can just get in by copying the exam.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big no. Nobody will join the company later, right?
Yeah.
And customers will not. So because we were working on a very critical process, having these big names as advisors actually was very, very valuable. So it's not directly tangible, but I'm thinking whenever you're making a sales presentation, the customer seeing these names and saying, okay, yeah, at least they know good people. And good people have trusted them to be on the advisor. Why will an IIM Bangalore director be on your board?
Exactly.
Of a small company which is not even like 50 lakhs revenue? Why will he be on the board?
So it's very important to send out all the right signals for your line of business.
Yes.
So like having a columnist who used to write puzzles.
Yes.
Is very important because you're in the examination and aptitude testing business.
Exactly.
So so giving out the right signals even to your sales processes and your potential clients goes a long way.
Exactly. And some of these people you don't meet them regularly also. For example, there was a guy called Pankaj Jalote who was the computer science HOD of IIT Kanpur. We got him on the board. Okay, we just mailed him and we met him somewhere in some conference and we invited him and he agreed. Okay, then he became the head of CDAC.
Okay.
Okay. Now he has no connection to us, but we are doing like C++ and various technology assessments also. So there's some indirect connection. And when we told this to Pankaj, we said, see, the test framework, the basic framework, that at that level validation, we'll send it to you. I don't remember if we even sent him one validation. We may have sent it to him. But, when he would visit Bangalore, he will meet us. He'll come to our office, spend about an hour, understand, give some gyan, some inputs. That's valuable. So sometimes, people think that this advisory board is a lot of time, effort, wastage. See, these are intangibles. So very valuable when you're a young company. So even if it requires a little bit of time, spend it. And don't worry about that they'll really occupy a lot of your time. No, they are also busy in their lives. They're not going to spend like every month, they're not going to come to office or anything like that. And you can draw the boundaries about some of them will want today maybe they will ask for some money also because companies are funded and even but those days they would not ask for any retainership or whatever. Many of them are, if they're in government roles, they can't even take money. They can't take money advisory fees, but they might once in a while ask saying that I'm coming to Bangalore, can you book a hotel for me or something like that.
Those
are
are
small things
those are things nobody will begrudge.
Yeah.
So once this has happened, what was your experience when you finally realized, okay, we have landed our Series A?
Yes. So, and we raised about $4 million, which
That's huge money back then.
Huge money back then. Yes, absolutely. Right. It was big money, and almost maybe equivalent to about 30 or $40 million today. Right.
Yeah, easily.
So easily, right? That scale. And it came from HSBC Private Equity.
Okay.
And so we had a Chinese on the board. We had a British Hong Kong resident on the board. The investment came through Hong Kong, etc. And we had an Indian who was not on the board, but who was the HSBC representative in India. So we were like the whole, suddenly from a Bangalore boys company, we became
the world is open to you now.
Open to us. And this, even the preparation to this made us structure various things. At least the thought started structuring. This journey helped us. And once this investment came in, then it's serious business, right? The first thing that happens is your old chartered accountants go out because they want one of the big four, accounting firms to be a chartered accountant. We were surprised. Why will you want a big four? I'm paying the older chartered accountant like 1/5 the fees. But they said, no, we'll only trust the big four and all that. So many things. And the big four works in a very different way. Their whole way of working is very different. They're more systematic or whatever, more detailed and stuff like that. But once the money came, then obviously it's time to execute the big plan, right? And execution is where companies are made, right? While you can dream, you can raise money, if you can't execute well, then and today we hear of so many unicorns also going down. That's because the execution doesn't happen, right? So you've just imagined, dreamed up, sold a dream to somebody, but so we were very clear that we have to execute this well. And one of the things that when you're a small company and you have to execute, you need talent, right?
Yes.
And you need leadership talent, right? So right when we were raising money itself, we realized this. So one of the first things that we did was we got a CFO on board.
Okay.
So we are a company which has like 2 accounts people and the 2 people are like BCom accounts. We don't even have like a CA in the company. Okay. And we're straight jumping to a CFO. Okay. And so to many of the people around us, it said, what are you doing? Why do you don't want a CFO? Just hire an accounts manager, right? Hire a young chartered accountant. Why do you want to do? Because CFO is much more expensive also, right? But we realized that's required because even while making the business plan, the kind of thinking that was required, only a person who's done that fundraising and all that. So fortunately, my engineering classmate and roommate actually was a CFO somewhere else.
Okay.
And he was in a transition role time. And he had also worked with some startups earlier. It was a small stint. So he was familiar with the startup world and he was very excited about being. And so we made the offer to him. We said, we are still a young company. We still have a lot of growth. So come on board and you can also, we'll get ESOPs and you can make some money and it'll be a great journey. And he bought onto that thing. So he joined us before the fundraise happened.
Okay.
So he helped us in the closure of the fundraise. In the closure of the fund, a lot of documentation is required. Due diligences are very serious. And for us, it's our first time experience. So this guy coming on board, he had done due diligence.
He has his experience before.
And he understands the language. He understands how to push pull with the investors, with the
Okay.
the auditor and all that. He knows how to manage all
The
that.
dynamics of the negotiation and everything.
Exactly. He
Only
understands
only
that.
once you've gone through the process, you'll get it.
Absolutely. So he came on board, and post that, we also went and hired some sales leaders and stuff like that, because obviously revenue execution is the first
Correct.
challenge in this. So delivery, we were feel confident that we can. But when I say leadership, it means people of your caliber, of your education background, that level.
Yeah.
So what and the quick insight or input in this, Shashank, is that, see, even if you're a 4-5 crore company, as a founder, you're not taking back a very big salary.
Definitely.
And your own batchmates, like for example, the people who went to MBA with you or engineering, they're in big jobs. Okay, they first have the security of a big company, security of a big job, and they have the future in ahead of them, and their salaries are typically more than what you're anyway getting even now. So for
Absolutely,
them to come with a pay cut, okay, slight pay cut, or even the same salary, will be very difficult. So we are bringing, when I say senior people, it's that caliber.
Okay.
Because the way you have to think about this is that you're 4 crores, but you have to now be, in the next 3 years, you have to be 25 crores. And 25 crores, the kind of talent you require, you need that today.
Correct.
Right? You need that, because you can't get to 25 crores with the talent you have. So people, typically founders, think incrementally. Then say, yeah, I will need this vice president 3 years later. No.
Why go for it
Why,
now?
yeah.
Why spend now?
So today I have a manager sales. I'll have a senior manager sales. But a senior manager can never get you from 4 crores to 10 crores.
10 crores. He's not seen that kind
He's
of
not
a
seen
business.
that growth. They can't
Yeah.
see that kind of orders. They can't do that. They can't execute that. So you need to bring that serious. So I pitched to my engineering classmates, IM classmates. We went to that. See, also the reason to pitch to your close community, and this is another advice that actually Ashish gave us. When we were asking him how to attract talent, in the first meeting itself, even before fundraising, asking him, he was saying that, what about your batchmates? So we said, why will the batchmate join us? He said, that's a story you have to think through. Why will they join you? Then he said, why will they join you? Because A, you're friends. Firstly, they trust you. They like you in some way, right? 2, you are successful in a limited way, and you have a bright future. So if you can convey to them the bright future, maybe they want to be a part of it. Someone there will be a part of it. So, and his trust is very big, because they know you, your friends, your working relationship will be thing. One of the questions he asked was, if they're friends, then how will I even manage him? He says, no, if they've worked in a corporate, they understand.
this culture will be there.
Culture will be there. They'll know that, even though you're their friend. But we took it seriously, yeah. I'll give you one incident out of that. One of my IM batchmates joined us, and he was somewhere in Singapore at that point of time, and he was in transition. And I just called him. I said, hey, we are doing this. Are you interested in exploring? And I don't know why. I was just honestly very casually trying this out. And he said, yeah, Murli, I think I'll explore it. Let's have another chat. And we spoke to him on the phone. Then my other 2 partners were like excited. He said, I am a batchmate joining us. Boss, this is like big. Then I said, why don't you get him to Bangalore? And we got to Bangalore. And with every other hire, because they were all junior people till that time, we went through a very rigorous hiring process. As an assessment company also, we were very rigorous. So we made them do assessment tests, we make them do PPTs, all that, right? So then we said that should we make him do that? Then we were in dilemma. I said, no, he's an IM grad. I want you to, we'll just interview.
He's done his CAT already.
Yeah. But we said, no, we should make him do that. So actually, I told my friend that you have to make a sales pitch on how you sell. Okay, or something. Okay, either your own existing product. So he actually laughed. He said, really?
Yeah.
He says, yeah, we want to see that. So even it's a negative, small thing. See, the moment you say that, suppose he doesn't like it, he might just say, I don't want to join you. But that also is a good thing, because he's really serious about the opportunity. Or does he want to just shift from Singapore to India and he's using this as a gateway? We don't know. But this guy took it seriously. And I still remember, small room, this guy stood there and projector on, and he first laughed. He said, Murli, bugger, you making me do PPT, you do you only. Yeah. He said, okay, you're making me PPT to do you only, man. And we all laughed. Then we said, yeah, but Arvind, now it's serious. Yeah, go ahead. We imagined immediately. So see, even that established that you are still the founder.
Yeah.
So that whole relationship also got established, professional relationship got established. And he presented to us. And then the other 2 felt more comfortable. The other 2 partners, yeah, we've seen him. We're not taking him because he's your friend.
And
we have evaluated him seriously.
There's a level of professional credibility also that's established.
Exactly.
And I think you got off on the right foot Because there has to be a shift from a
Yeah.
friend and a batchmate or a roommate or a
Yeah.
college mate
Yeah.
to a working relationship where there is a founder and then there is a CSO coming.
Exactly. You have made a brilliant point. Actually, that's a subtle, very, very important point, but that's important. Yes. You have to establish what is the relationship.
So immediately it is not like chalo yaar coffee pe chalte hai.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And he
the,
can say anything to you in any meeting.
exactly.
Right? There is a structure of the company, a decorum of the company that you have to maintain. And that gets established in a conversation like this.
Oh, that is fantastic. These are lessons that any entrepreneur can actually learn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because most of the entrepreneurs even today are hunting from the friends and family groups only.
Exactly, exactly.
Although LinkedIn, I mean, nothing to take away from LinkedIn, but although LinkedIn, I was looking at the statistics. It's the friends and family who first build your LinkedIn group. That is where you execute, and then there is
Yeah.
going to only after there is a success that the group increases.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So then one of the things about execution was building the leadership team, and we hit it off right. We brought in 3 or 4 big leaders. Okay, a very big expense immediately. So it looks like what? Why do? And actually, first year they are not executing that level because the company size is
Correct.
still small.
Yeah.
But you need them because that is what is required for the real big growth. Okay, so that was one big thing we did, and then the growth happened. Then the growth began right in earnest, and we started growing aggressively. We started making bigger plans. See, now it's the annual operating plan that you make, the growth because you also have projected to the investors that in 3 years how much. So that guideline is there with you. So with that guideline, then you have to match that guideline and make your detailed plans, and then
So so once you got the investment, how soon was it before it hit you that hey, this is the projected promise that we have made, and we have to sit and plan for it? How soon was that, or was it all one seamless process while
No, it,
projecting
it
to
was
the
one
investors?
seamless process because even before the funding, we were actually sitting and making those Excel sheets ourselves, right? We knew what we were projecting, and when we're projecting also, and we're defending those numbers with investors, you're doing a lot of discussion that is this growth possible? Is this what they're asking for? More growth, less growth, profitability? You're discussing those, so you actually immersed yourself in those numbers and that projection and the strategy, right? So investment raising is also about the whole plan and you buying into the plan. Unless you buy into the plan, you can't sell it to others, right? So we were that is why this hiring this happened almost quickly, because it's always the back of the mind. See, if you go to 10 investor pitches and you're talking about that you'll be growing 4x, 5x, 10x, okay, as a serious entrepreneur, you're also thinking, how will I do it, right? How will I execute 4x? And but if I get so many orders, how will I execute downstream?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
all that you'll be thinking, right, when you're driving back from those meetings. And that's where it hits you that the current team is not able to help you scale, kind of thing.
So once you've gone through all this, was there any time where you realized that wow, this is arrived now and we are on target?
Yeah, I think I'll give you one small incident around this of how the investment fundraising hit us, right? So the one of the things that we did with the when we raised money was we're flush with cash. $4 million in a company is like immense amount of money those days, right? Right, and the money hits into the bank. Firstly, the bank account you can't believe that it
Did your banker call you?
yeah. So, and then the first thing we did was, if you had expanded to build, upgrade your offices and all that kind of thing. So we were operating from really like a bootstrap kind of offices in other locations, especially in Hyderabad, Bombay, Delhi, and all that, right? So we immediately got a admin guy, and yeah, we also had a better admin guy at that point of time who had actually done serious admin, right? And we had built offices and furnished and all that. And then he said, go and build the rest of the office. And we gave him a plan. Every 3 months, some office should be upgraded because we need more people. And the moment you're hiring people, they have to have a place to sit, right? Otherwise, you don't look nice, right? So and also, if you've raised funding, then you're attracting a different kind of people now. More formally, people are coming with more expectations. You can't make them sit in the same kind of environment, right? So the first office that got done, Shashank, was in Hyderabad, okay, and this got built out, and so I think Madan had already gone and seen it or inaugurated it or whatever. The second office, Bangalore, we're moving to a bigger office, but that was still underway because that is a much bigger space and the space hunting was going on. Hyderabad was a slightly smaller space, about 2,000 square feet, and so this guy. The admin guy was going up and down from Bangalore, and he was identifying the place, getting the interiors done. All that was happening, and we were signing off everything. We were seeing photographs, we were signing off everything. All that we were doing that. But Madan had also went, and one weekend he had inaugurated it also with a little bit of thing. But I and Mohan had not seen that office. So the next week after it gets inaugurated or something like that, I and Mohan traveled to Hyderabad for some meeting, for some client meeting, and we land up in this for the whole day. For morning we do some meetings, etc. Around lunchtime or something, we land up in our office, okay, our new office.
And this is the first time you've gone to
First
your own
time,
office.
yeah, absolutely. And till then, our offices were fairly ordinary looking kind of a thing. So we land up in this new office, and this is like jazzy office, right? The works. It's got very, very jazz, and it's like colorful, interiors very tastefully done. We've got nice reception and nice branding, and everything is like sparkling clean and bright looking and all that. And we are taken aback. We are
In your own office.
It looks like we walked into some Fortune 500 company office like that. Okay, and we walk in and we are like stunned. And then we huddle the employees in one room and we're giving them a pep talk or whatever and all that. And they are like overjoyed because they have actually struggled last 3 years in some very average looking office, and now they are like, and those people I think never thought they'll join a company like this. They would have just thought this one job I've got. I'm just working for MeritTrac. For them, this company to have turned so big is like a wonder. They're enjoying it. Then I remember we went to the washroom, both of us, and we are in the washroom, and the washroom has this automated urinal, right?
Oh, that IR.
Sensor one. Okay, and in 2005 or 6, this was fair novelty. Those sensor-based urinals were...
You had this only in the swanky pubs and five-star hotels.
Absolutely, right? And we had this... Okay, and I remember we looked at that, I and Mohan, and I think I was telling Mohan was telling me that, Murli, I think we have arrived, man. Look at it, in our office, we've got a sensor-based urinal. So this is, I think that minute it hit us that we actually raised the money, right, and we're onto something big, right?
So many entrepreneurs don't realize that keeping your restroom top notch, and going there for the first time will actually make you realize that you've arrived.
But those and that aha moment was something,
So your eureka moment or aha moment was in the restroom.
Yeah, in that automated urinal.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, there's one thing about entrepreneurship that while you enjoy the customers and all that, there are many moments like this which give you immense joy, right? Immense joy about the journey itself. Many times senior entrepreneurs like me would be telling younger people that, enjoy the journey. And this is what it means, enjoy the journey kind of a thing, right? So
that is when in that urinal you and Mohan realized that we have arrived.
Yes. The sign of success is not Pan Parag.
It is an automatic urinal.
Yeah.
So how did this expansion suddenly happen? I mean, you have the money in. You've already started preparing to hire top-notch talent, which again is a very good learning for thing. Do not think incrementally. Yes. Think where you want to be and hire that kind of talent, even though it's a little bit of a drain right now. Yes. So you've already done that. Now the bank is in and you're expanding and you have got automatic urinals.
Yes.
Then what?
So we grew about the company about 3 or 4 times from there in the next 1.5 years itself. Okay. So we went from about 4 crores to almost about 11, 12 crores, I think in the next 12 months or 16 months, if I remember correctly.
So the key to this is the planning and the hiring.
The hiring that you've done and the execution you've done. Also, there's a momentum because you're at 4 crores because there's already a momentum, right? There's a momentum of this thing. So we went to about 9, 10 crores very quickly. One of the things that happened, so one of the lessons around execution is this hiring of good people. 2 is, as a big company, your processes and the way you think and the way you manage has to be a little different, right? For example, one of the things that you have to do in a bigger process, you'll have to delegate more, which means you're even next level has to be ready to be taken, given responsibility. So you have to coach them. Many times they're not ready. They were not hired to be in a 10 crore company. They were hired actually to be in a 50 lakh, 1 crore company. You have stretched them to bring them to a 4 crore company. That itself is a stretch for them. Now from 4 crores, they need coaching to go to even take responsibility. For example, suppose I was handling a territory in sales, which generated like 50 lakhs. Now you're asking him that you have to generate 4 crores. He's never handled those kind of clients at all. So for him to even go to 4 crores, Or even if I'm delivery executive, okay, I am executive delivery, I am part of a team where I have a assistant manager and I am just doing a task. From there, immediately now I'll say you are only the assistant manager and you have to manage two
Correct.
clients.
Yeah.
So his learning is is doubling. And there are skills, intangible skills like leadership, communication with customers, okay, prioritization, project planning, which he has never learned in his life. So as leaders, you have to spend time on all that. You have to really, really be hands on, not just bark orders at them, not just tell them the vision and then expect them, not just shout at them for failures, but really say that, okay, I'll teach you now. I'll teach you, even if, for example, if that guy is going and meeting a new customer as a delivery executive, you tell him that, okay, how will you prepare, pitch it to me. What will you say to the customer?
So it's
How will
literally a coaching camp going on.
Absolutely, you have to do that with all your people. That's how the next level. Even if you had some leaders, the next level is not ready, and they have not worked with the external people, and the external leaders have worked with much better talent. Maybe this happens in startups, right? So that bridging. So we were doing a lot of that. And that's how you actually execute well.
So one mistake I have seen people is the moment they realize that this kind of a talent gap is there and they're not able to grow, they take many of those meetings themselves in person.
Yes.
So a better thing is sit down, coach your people,
Yes.
bring them up to the standards, because in the long run it's going to save you much more time.
Absolutely. And one part of coaching is also to take those people along with you in the meetings.
Correct.
Okay, but make them prepare and take. Sometimes you just take from the meeting and you're doing the talking. See, if you go for a big sales meeting and you're doing the talking and he's just listening, it's very passive listening, and passive learning will not. So you have to tell him that you are going to pitch tomorrow. So you prepare and pitch to me. Okay, and then we'll see what happens in the meeting. And the meeting, maybe you'll do the pitching because you're still not ready. That's okay. But you have to allow them to come up and you have to take the risks. You have to give them responsibility. Right? And basically, also the language lingo should be that you're there. You're the star. Like today, for example, even in sports, right? When they back young players, the coach will say that, yeah, you are the star. That's it. You may be 21. That's okay. But you may be facing the world. You're a batsman. You're facing the world's best bowler. That's okay. But you're the star. Actually, even that communication helps to build confidence. You have to do that, and you have to build.
So it's extremely important. This all comes, people usually broadly put it as team building.
Yes.
It's not just team building, it's actually growing your team, understanding where your team is, what their capabilities are, and augmenting that.
Yes.
And spending a lot of time doing that.
Actually, the last thing you said, spending time, that's what most entrepreneurs don't do. Most leaders don't do, because it looks waste. They think that, okay, and they do it in bites. Yeah, I told you, they'll take a 15-minute class. See, 15-minute class, that fellow can't absorb. These are skills which you have learned over many years, right? Yeah. They can't absorb so fast. So you have to spend time. You have to. So some of my review meetings are legendary to be long, and people have complained that, Murli, you are reviewing for so long. But if I look back, those reviews are where they're learning, right? Because you're asking such detailed questions, you're going into a lot of detailing, you're explaining things to them, you may be repeating things to them. That's where they're learning. It looks like waste, but that then builds your broader team. And one of my, at least personal strategies is I'll do a lot of work, but I'll not do all the work. I'll do a lot of work this way by coaching and all that, but I'll not do all the work. I want other people to do work.
That goes counterproductive.
Yeah.
Because you've hired people, and if you do all the work, it's no point.
Yeah, but a lot of people actually are here saying that it's easier for you to do the work, right? Like if somebody is trying to create an Excel sheet, complicated Excel sheet with a pivot, right? Instead of telling somebody to do it, and that person making 3 iterations, it's easier for you to do it. So people do it themselves, and they'll say, okay, just put data here and click here, it'll come. Oh, that fellow has not learned anything.
Exactly.
That doesn't work. So I do that. I say, no, it's okay. Today we'll learn, and I would that thing mentality. So coaching and building up people is the other part of execution. One of the things about execution is also that you also have to broaden your horizon in terms of the kind of customers you'll talk to and meet. For example, if you're a 4 crore company, your biggest customer could be about 50 lakhs or 40 lakhs. Now if you're to be a 58 crore company, your biggest customer maybe will be 2 crores.
Correct.
And that guy will behave very differently.
Exactly.
Very, very differently. He's the quality of the customer, the expectations, even simple things like documentation, attending a meeting, PPTs, a process note, everything he expects in a very different quality.
Of course.
Right?
It's a different ticket size. It's a different world.
Completely different world.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't, so that you would also enhance yourself to it.
So you people are growing through all this from your first big contract. That year you moved 3x. Next year you've moved 4x after that. And then what? Then where does the next stage come? What was the challenge then?
So typically in any company like this, the next stage is obviously you are trying to see more growth and you are executing with that money that you have. And as you do go more growth, you may require more capital and then you're preparing in advance to raise those capital. In our case, what happened was we were profitable and Ashish urged us to raise money and we raised money. But what I would advise entrepreneurs also is that plan this 3 or 4 years. One of the things of the founders is also to think 5 years ahead. So even if you raise capital, $4 million, you have to think that this will get over in maybe 3.5, 4 years. After 4 years, what will you do? And what is the next stage? So then if at 4 years you need more money, then 1 year before that or 1.5 years before that, you have to start the work for
start the work again for
fundraising.
pitching.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to raise money when you already have money and we are not in a bad dire straits, right? That's one thing. Second thing is, even in those 3 years, if you've given it that the money will last 3 years, things may go wrong. Your revenues may not grow, your costs may grow. So that 3 years itself may get crunched to 2 years. So you have to be always ready for the next fundraise. You have to be really prepared. So this is what I would say. In our case, fortunately, we didn't go into another fundraise because we were growing so fast at this point of time that we had a strategic buyout immediately after this. So within 2 years of this, we had the Manipal Group show interest in us. And it was a lot of serendipity in some way because Manipal Group also had a small testing division and that division was very small. And when they were reviewing their strategy, they figured out that they have two choices, either to grow that small division or just invest and acquire the biggest company in this space. And we were the biggest company in that space at that point of time. They said it makes sense to just acquire them.
Wow.
So we knew their CEO at that point of time through some other connections, and he just made this offer. He says, I'd like to talk to you guys. And he met us once or twice and says, what's your appetite? What do you want to do in the future? We had said we have money in the bank. We are happy. We want to grow. Okay. We want to grow big time. So he says, why don't you grow with us? And we had no interest. Why will you grow with you? We are growing on our own and all that kind of a thing. But he made a compelling proposition. He said that while you're growing, you're still a small team and the Manipal Group has a lot of leadership capability and diverse this thing. And in education, we are big. So education assessments, entrance exams, all those markets will open up. So why don't you look at it seriously? And then we said, yeah, but we don't want a minority. So then this whole thing about if a strategic investor comes in and he's a big daddy, then typically if they come with a minority stake, okay, they didn't want to come with a minority stake. They wanted at least
Manipal is a huge institution,
huge company. So then they wanted a controlling stake. So, but then we realized if at this early stage we give up controlling stake, then either we sell the company fully, or we can't be stuck with a sizable number but a minority stake.
Correct. Yeah.
So this was a lot of things. At this point in time, again, a lot of this serious, for example, there's a lawyer, one of our friends, who actually ran a law firm who was doing this level of M&A for other companies. Okay, he was a National Law School graduate, and he was doing he had his firm, and they were doing, and he had helped us with some of our earlier legal work. He actually advised us in one of those calls. He met us and he said that, see, if you give up 51% and you are 49 or 48,
that's
then
still divided further down with individuals.
No, that's also, but 48 means you're not controlling the company.
Correct.
And then you're working like an employee. So either you sell 100%, okay, or you don't give the majority. So, and for us a dilemma, because they were willing to give us a lot of money at that point of time. We are a very attractive asset and they wanted to acquire. So then we just were bold and we just told them, either you buy full. But to buy full, the amount of money that you have to put in is much more. And the company is still not very big in terms of the numbers and the valuation and all that. But fortunately, the CEO at Manipal, he had vision and he bought that. He bit into the bullet or whatever, and he took the call.
You people were really hard bargainers.
Yeah, I think our ability to bargain honestly in this journey has been good, right? We've been good. We've been at least able to size our future potential well. So we did that, and so within about 2 years, we got fully acquired. So 2005, I think we got 5-6, we got the HSBC money. Within 2007, we got fully acquired.
Wow.
So from 2000 to 2007, 7 years we had got acquired. Acquired with a minority stake be left out, but almost like a full acquisition. Okay. But one good thing about that acquisition was that it gave us capital. The second thing is it gave us a lot of senior leadership people. See, while HSBC Private Equity is they brought in foreigners, they brought in board members, but they are finance people. They're investors. They don't know about running all the businesses. Okay, they've not run businesses. That way, Manipal is an operator. Okay, what do you call an operator? The person who's running a business.
Correct.
So when they invest, they bring in skills, knowledge of scaling up things which investor cannot bring in.
Because
right?
one is in the business world, one is in the finance world.
Absolutely. So we were aware of that also. That's one good thing. Second thing is they have immense amount of cash. If not today, later, anytime they can bring in many more rounds of investment. And the third very important thing was they understood our desire to be independent. We also told them the dilemma that, see, we are still a 10, 12 crore company or whatever, or maybe 15 crore company. Why would we, and our dream is to be 80, 100 crores. Why, and if we sell out today, we don't want to just retire and go home. We have many things to do in this. So then they understood that desire, and they actually, we had a lot of discussions. They promised us saying that we'll treat this as a startup. We will invest, we are majority, but it will be run independently. That promise was made, and very kudos to them. Not many investors do it. They were really hands off in the first 2-3 years of the investment. After coming in, they were really hands off, and they would review us in quarterly board meetings, but they would allow us the entrepreneurial freedom to run the company. In fact, internally the story sold to the Manipal board was that we are hiring entrepreneurial talent.
Okay.
We are not hiring we're not buying a company. Don't think that you acquired some revenue and all that. These people have the potential to take this 15 crore company into maybe a 100 crore company. And if we kill that,
then the whole purpose of the investment
is gone, right? So this is a very mature investing. And for a giant like Manipal, who's already 10 times your size,
you
even at
usually
that
don't
level,
expect this kind of leeway.
Leeway. And even if they say that, they'll not behave like that. But I'll give you, Shashank, one incident. So once the investment happened, okay, immediately after that we had a board meeting, and we had never done organized board meeting. Even with Ashish and all, we had done board meetings, but with HSBC, we got used to some level of board meeting. But these guys were even more serious guys and big guys. So then they said, yeah, we'll have the next quarter board meeting. So I said, okay, we'll come to your office, Manipal head office. So he said, no, we'll come to your office. I said, Acha, we'll come to our board meeting, but we are like a subsidiary company, right? You acquired us. Said, no, we'll come to your office. And they came. Okay, all the 3 board members came, the CFO, the CEO, and one advisor, they came. And in the board meeting, there's this whole thing of chairman of the board. Okay. Yeah. And till that time, it's a homegrown company. Even with the financial investors, they had just one board seat. So we were the founders. One of us only would be the chairman. Here we didn't know. So I think my CFO asked, who should I put as the chairman of the meeting? In a board meeting, formal minutes are then and notice is given and all that. So I said, who should I put? So I said, the last meeting kiska naam tha? Murli, tumhara naam tha. You put your name only. So I put it. And when I walked into the board meeting, I'm shocked because the other 3 gentlemen are like much older, obviously, and they're much more seasoned. They're really, and I'm sitting there and says, okay, Mr. Chairman, how do we start?
Oh, they are addressing you as Mr. Chairman.
No, it's very formal, right? Okay. And my CFO is saying, with the chairman's permission, we'll start the meeting. That minute I said, oh shit, what a mistake, yaar. I'm not the chairman worthy guy. But they never let out. They behaved so in such a dignified, polished way. They just let the meeting completely go. Next board meeting also, I was the chairman. The third meeting, that CFO subtly suggested to our CFO saying that, see, from just we are in majority and also by seniority, one of us should be the chairman. Very subtly suggested. Otherwise, they didn't. See, otherwise, they could just ham-handedly have just said, hey, come on. Yeah. They would have killed the spirit of the company, but they didn't do that. So this happened, and then we grew with them. Then there was a huge expansion phase, and we grew with them, that kind of a thing.
So there was a completely different mode of working, different level of talent.
Yes.
And finally, did you get into governments and examinations with the governments all that?
Yes.
What was that journey like? And was it because of Manipal coming on board, or were you already on the 4x4? You were 2x2. You were already on that path.
No, it was also because of the path that we had set out with HSBC, and we had promised that. One of the things that happened when Manipal came in was HSBC exited because they bought them out completely. and they exited, and HSBC made a profit. So our first investor exited when HSBC came in, and the second investor existed when the third guy came in. So everybody made money that way, right? So
And that's also pretty important
important, yes.
for any company, because you have too many investors on board.
Yes.
It might become a problem.
Yes, exactly. And typically, naturally, the next big investor will want to remove the older
Remove the old
investors.
ones, yeah.
Typically, if they're taken substantial stake, if they come with a minority stake, then they'll not. And that's what happened. One thing before I go to the question you asked is that I'll say, see, one of the things that happened when we raise money, and one thing which happens with a lot of companies is you do a lot of activities to expand, right? But expansion is very uneven. It doesn't come in a smooth way. Okay. And typically, when you expand, your revenue expansion sometimes doesn't keep pace with your cost side expansion. Okay. For example, if your retail outlet, you set up a lot of retail outlets. Okay. But your revenue from the new retail outlets will not be that fast. Okay. Or if you're like if you build a large sales team, your sales team will grow suddenly. So the same thing happened with us after we raised money. First year was okay. The second year, for the last 3 years, we had been profitable, but second year we had our first quarter loss.
Oh, suddenly you see a quarter loss.
Quarter loss, yes, and we were shocked because also we're going at such pace that we are also not able to observe all the numbers very diligently, and we're not paying attention. Suddenly, when that quarter happened and the numbers was reported, we were shocked that how are you lost? Okay, we still have some money in the bank, but loss will hit us. That why are we turning into loss? Then we analyzed it to figure out that all the parts of the company are not, working in a synchronous way, and also not keeping pace, basically. And typically, revenue will lag. That is why
There's always a lag between because every new outlet
Yeah.
in the retail space is
Yeah.
a new startup on its own.
Correct. And in other B2B space, etc., customer acquisitions take time.
Correct.
While in an Excel sheet would have projected that 6 months I'll add so many clients, etc., but it may not happen. And because also the teams have to learn to execute, right? And new people who brought in, their hiring gets delayed. And sales hiring, if it gets delayed, then that delays the entire sales.
Exactly.
Right? Even if a sales guy joins 3 months late, he has to learn the product for 3 more months and then execute. So it's 6 months down the line. If 6 months is gone, that entire year is gone.
Year is
sometimes.
gone, yeah.
So we had this issue. So, and also we were thinking, the way we were working was 3 co-founders were all directors, and each of them, and for nominal reason, one of us had got nominated as CEO. But we were functioning, with a lot of equality in roles and responsibilities and all that. And because we were sitting in one office and in one room for a large time, we were very well synchronized, right? We could
Everybody knows what needs to be done.
What
Whoever
are
had that-
priorities,
yeah.
etc. If something is not working, the advanced signals are immediately available,
Yeah.
etc. But when we raised money, we went into bigger offices. See how even physical space impacts. Then you're sitting far away, even on the same floor. I'm sitting on first floor, he's sitting on second floor. And because your days are so busy, you're not meeting your co-founder regularly. You're doing more formal meetings.
Correct.
And all the things are not getting passed on. And between the three of us, that coordination formal meeting structure was not there. We had not built that structure, right? So that is why some of this mess also happened. So, for example, the revenue lagged, but in cost, we added all the manpower, offices, everything we added in
At one go,
anticipation of the revenue. Okay. We added technology, we did everything. But revenue's growing, but not at the same pace.
Not at the same pace. Yeah, it always. So your the enormous expansion
Yeah.
of your growth
Yeah.
and your revenue growth.
Yeah.
There was a lag
Lag.
between that,
Absolutely. Which is the reason.
and which you are not accounted for.
Yeah, which is the reason for that loss, actually. Now, one of the things that's corrected is if you're constantly synchronizing, right? And in a large company, the synchronization happens with formal reviews and board level, either the CFO or somebody is reviewing you, and other CEO is reviewing you, right? But here, the CEO and all the co-founders are all equal.
Or
So
equal,
nobody is
yeah.
reviewing anybody, right? And yeah, the CFO is reporting,
Yeah.
but is reporting to different people, right? It's not working. There's no one guy. So we realized this quickly, okay, and we analyzed this thing, and this is when the Manipal investment process had started, then discussion started, and we were feeling, so how do we correct it, and all that. Internally, then we figured out that between the three founders, we need to put a formal structure, okay, and the formal structure is that one of them definitely is the CEO, then I said I will become the CEO, and the third guy will become the chief delivery officer, and we'll formally divide the roles. Departments are formally there was some division already, but we'll formally designate and do all that. And also between the three, we'll build a reporting relationship.
Okay. So you put in a structure.
Structure. So the chief delivery officer, naturally, in a proper company, has to report the CEO. The CEO has to report to the CEO. Correct?
Okay.
Earlier, there was no reporting between the three of us. There was no reporting at all, right? Because we are all three founders doing.
Yeah.
Now we did. So one consequence of this formal reporting, we actually announced the reporting formally. And consequence of formal reporting is that the CDO, which is Mohan, will be reviewed by me. His appraisal will be done by me, and my appraisal has been done by Madan. So this is the structure we built in.
Oh, nice.
And this is very novel. So the Manipal investment just happened. The first board meeting happened. And after that, we announced this to them. We internally had decided and we announced. And when I put up the slide, I remember the board meeting, the Manipal guys were stunned. Saying, why are you doing this reorganization and all that? And they listened to it for 20 minutes and they were actually taken aback. They're saying, you are young guys. And who will, firstly, if you report to each other, then it's like you're actually employee. Then after some time, right? You become an employee. So they said that who will give up like this? Which co-founder will give up like this, etc. Then they said this is very, and later after the meeting, one of the board members told me, you're very mature. We've never seen a company like this because founders will behave anyway. And actually it's the investor who brings the order. Many times.
Here you have ordered yourself.
Ordered yourself when you're presenting it. And that guy actually asked me, why are you doing this? He didn't understand. We said, sir, we've had a loss last quarter and 2 quarters and we are trying to correct that and we believe this is the one thing. There was still, why are you doing that? That loss can be corrected by actually synchronizing better. We said, no, the root problem is the synchronization is in the relationship and formal working is not there. He was saying, yeah, which youngster will want formal working? You want freedom. Okay, then, but we moved that. And one consequence that I remember the first time the review happened, okay. So Mohan has to be reviewed by me. And I'm reviewing some of the other function heads also. So Mohan said, where will the review be? I said, my cabin. So do you have to come to your cabin? Yeah, I have to come to my cabin. What time? He said, send me a meeting request. I sent a meeting. And he fixed. And then Mohan said, so how do I said, properly. This is the agenda you have to present. You have to tell me next 20 minutes what you've done this month. Oh my God, it's so funny. And then Mohan took it very seriously.
And your review meetings are legendary to be long.
Yeah. And Mohan took it very seriously. And then when he finished the meeting, he said, and he actually shook hands and he said, Murli, this is great. Yeah, I love this because he appreciated it. And he said, because actually this feels like working in a big company now. This feels like we're going somewhere. Okay. And those reviews helped us. Within 2 quarters, we came back into the black. So immediately we had a 2-3 quarter blip and we came back into the black.
So all the slip ups, all the non-communications and everything that slid through the cracks were cemented here.
Yes. So also prioritization, decisions to say yes, no. For example, now because I had an oversight on many things and we had oversight, etc., we knew that if the revenue projections, we could ask serious questions on the revenue. Boss, tell me exactly how much you'll hit. So if you don't hit, then these five recruitments are stopped, right? So we took those decisions. Earlier, nobody was taking those decisions. So it's prioritization and all that.
So in a company's growth, when do you suggest, because both are required, when suppose you have 3 founders in such as your case, all of you are sitting in the same room and there was synchrony and then you're growing. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, that is what attracted the seed, the angel and the Manipal group also.
Absolutely.
But when is the time for an entrepreneur or a company to make that decision to change, structure yourself, follow the process, follow the hierarchy? When do you think, in your case, it was very simple because you went through a loss for the first time.
Correct.
And you couldn't immediately fix it. So for you, that was a trigger. What should companies look for to make such changes?
Actually, I think one thing you should look for is you should have a good board, okay, which actually has good members who have built companies who can advise you on that. And you should tell the board also that if you've bought in board members who just think that it's time pass and okay, you tell the board members also that if you have independent board members, to take this job very seriously and guide you. Okay, if you have an investor board member, then they're anyway going to ask you tough questions, etc. Okay, and the investor board member is not asking you tough questions, you should actually be alerted and make them ask tough questions, because that is one checkpoint. They will tell you, and they also have the hindsight, and they're also removed from the business, so they can see what the mistake is. For example, if you went at loss, you can actually analyze and give 20 reasons for the loss. You can say market, you can say, but actually a lot of it is the synchronization that is going wrong. You're not executing well. And not executing well is also because of structure, because of priority, because of plans, because of reviews, many things because of which you don't execute well, which are all intangible, which nobody will tell you. They'll tell you some external factor or some technology factor or something like that, correct? For example, even in software projects, some of the software projects overrun because it's not project managed well.
Correct.
It is not because the technology guy doesn't
Yeah.
know the skill or whatever, right? So things like that. So many, that is the help that a board member can give you and a serious advisor, and you have to enable that. You have to also give the space, tell and have this conversation with the board member, that have a serious conversation. Okay, this is one thing. Second thing is that as entrepreneurs, if that is not there, then you have to observe if things are not going as per plan, and then the introspection has to happen. That is the other way. So why I'm saying this, Shashank, is because this problem could happen in the first year of company. It could happen in the fifth year of company. It is not necessarily a growth related problem.
Okay.
Right? Because the synchronization can be off even in the first 1.5 years also. For example, if you're a software development company and you're also selling, okay, suppose you're building a product, the product guy who's building the product can just go Ori and he can just go off the hook and keep developing features in the product without any control. Correct. And the product development will never complete, and then you're never ready for the market. I see many startups, they're never ready for the market. Let's say, sir, another 3 modules and we'll be ready. And the sales founder is waiting for, perennially waiting, and is using that as an excuse not to sell. So this is happening. So how will that show? If you have written down that in 1 year, where will you be? If you written that down, and that's not happened. So maybe the way to do, even in the early stages, you look at the plan. Okay, what did we say in 1 year will be happening doing this? It's not happening. It's not happening because one of us said screwing up. So that ownership should be there, that we are screwing up. Here, the 3 of us owned up that we screwed up. We didn't blame the external thing. We didn't blame that this happens because of growth. And we said, no, growth will happen, but we screwed up. So we have to correct ourselves first before.
How much do you think that, suppose you're finding when a company is starting and there's a co-founder, you organically, usually most things happen. You're sitting down with friends and both of you sync at one point of time and say, let's start a company. But if that's not happening, and say somebody has to find a co-founder, what do you have any advice on how you have to find a co-founder, what you have to look for, or even starting a partnership and starting a company in partnership with another person? Is there anything that you have to look for? Because it's very evident that the relationship between the founders is extremely important for success.
So I think one of the things I said is, if you work with somebody you know, at least the conversations are very transparent and honest. Okay, whether things are good or bad. Okay, so it'll be good if you can bring in people you know. Okay, that is one part. Second thing is, my suggestion would be that structure the relationship in such a way that there is a honeymoon period, there is a transition period. Okay, don't bring something on with a complete. Don't give too much of stake. Even if you give stake, you stagger it. Okay, and work out a structure where and put clear benchmarks, saying that I expect that this will be achieved. This will be achieved. Now, when you put those benchmarks with people who are for your own caliber or slightly more better caliber, many of them will say, "Yeah, the benchmarks are fine, but I don't know the reality. I'll come into the company and see."
Then that's
Okay,
not,
but that's a danger, because once they come and whatever they just turn around and disregard the benchmark, then you have nothing to do, right? So you have to be transparent about the status of the company. Be transparent. Tell them what the actual numbers are, what is the team size. Maybe introduce them to the team. Let them meet the team, especially at the senior level. Okay, do all that and then set the benchmark. Say in 1 year, 6 months, I expect this. In 1 year, 1.5 years, we expect that you and I both will work, but your job is this. You have to do this. 3, clearly lay out the person's responsibility in KRA. Okay. Write down the KRA. Many times we don't even write down. For example, if I'm a delivery officer and you're charged with growing the delivery capability by this thing, write it down in terms of people, technology. Exactly, write it down. It like actually in a formal company that they give you but many times we discuss all this or write it in mails which are English. We write down. We don't have a number there. By what date? We don't say. We don't say your job is to cut costs by 20% by next September. You don't say that. You'll say, yeah, your input or your strategic vision will be required in cutting costs. Yeah, vision everybody will give, but he'll never achieve anything.
Correct.
So write down, formalize it so that at least expectations are clear. Beyond that also, they will be, maybe you will not achieve all the numbers, but at least the expectations are clear, and around that number sheet, then you can have a proper conversation.
Okay. So at least the direction of flow
Yes.
will have a destination.
Yes. So bring people who you trust, who you are comfortable with. and with them have an open conversation with all the facts, have a clear benchmark for that role, a KRA for that role, expectations for that role, okay, and build a transition period where you bring them in, so that you actually in reality also you see.
Okay.
You see. The other thing is that, see, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Okay. And the way you behave in an entrepreneurial company and the way you behave in a big company is very, very different. Very different. Okay. So just, and many people may say that in a big company, I did an entrepreneurial thing. That is honestly not the same as being in an entrepreneurial company.
It's not.
In an
It's definitely
entrepreneurial company, the resources are very few. Typically, you're scrambling for resources. Your need for initiative and getting off the block to take up things and do and get your hands dirty is very, very high. Okay, I've experienced this. I've brought in leaders who then they meet the junior team and they're shocked. They're saying that, see, in my previous company, twice the quality of the people reported to me. They will say something like that. So I say that's the reality of a startup,
yeah.
right? We can't hire that quality,
Yeah.
right? We have smart people in various other ways, but we don't have that level of quality in many things. And then they struggle. They can't get down to that level, and then they will crib to you. They will say, "Yeah, they're not doing meetings." For example, one sales leader I had in one of my next startups, he used to constantly crib that the sales team that you have can't even do present in a sales review. Okay, because he was working in a big company where this was so fine-tuned, and the resources that he was working with were all MBAs, and they'd gone to at least tier 2 colleges and big colleges. So they were also veterans in sales, 10 years. So their level of reporting and ownership, even the sentence that they will say, the number happened, did not happen, what's my action plan? They'll very crisply say it. Here to make my young team say that is very, and the team is not, forget the language, they're not even understanding the concept that I have to accept the responsibility for failure in a meeting. Every meeting, they say, "No, sir, we are both together. No, founder and you were together. You know the reality." So they said, no. So things like that. So that ability to work in a startup is you have to gauge that. You have to gauge that. So ideally, even if you bring on people, Shashank, my advice would be bring on somebody who's experienced startup somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Even if he's working in a big company, experienced startup somewhere. At least one stint of 2 years startup somewhere.
Okay. So he'll that person will actually know the transition and the varied expectations that both the environments have.
One of the things that happened after we exited from Manipal was I went on to build 2 other startups. Okay. But one of my co-founders, Mohan, actually said, "I'm not going to build a startup." So I said, "What are you saying? I'm not going to build my own startup. I will work with startups. I'll work with." I said, "Why?" He says, "No, I don't want to work with half intelligent people. I've worked 15 years with half intelligent people." Okay. A very crude way of saying this. Actually, they're not half intelligent people, but I'm saying he's very crude way of saying this, that, but that's the reality, because you're always growing fast. You're always strained for resources. Your budgets are lesser. You're working with people who you have to make do.
You're making most out of a given
Yes.
financial situation.
Yes.
And at the same time, pulling growth on an exponential level.
Yes. So you and your growth expectations are always very audacious. So it's never matching. Many people get confused. They think that startups have great, very bright talent. Yes, they have bright talent, but they have bright talent at the leadership level typically, or in some divisions, some pockets. Okay, they don't have leadership talent, and the rest of the people you're working with, right? So he said, for 15 years I've done this. I am now tired. For at least another 10 years, I want to work in a very more established company where this problem is not there. So, and I didn't catch it. I said, "What's the big deal? We are used to working in this and all." But then when I built my second and third startup, I realized how tougher it is. As you grow older also, it's tougher to work with people and be coaching them constantly and all that kind of thing. So if this mentality is not there, that person will not fit in from a corporate. So if he's worked for that, if you have no choice but to bring a corporate person, then don't bring him in a very crucial role. Very crucial role where something earth-shattering will depend, especially revenue. If revenue is dependent on that person and he has to work with a team like this, then that will not work at all. Or if he's working on revenue, but he can work remotely, that it's very super large clients and he'll just bring it on his own relationships, then that will work. But if he has to work with a team, drive revenue through a team, then it'll be very hard to bring a transitional person from a corporate to this. This is my 2-3 cents on how to bring a co-founder.
So how did what were the next ventures of yours?
Yeah, so then Manipal just grew. We did a lot of work for Manipal. Actually, it's a very successful marriage, one of the most successful acquisitions. Very very comfortable, and we added a lot of value to Manipal, and the company also grew. So from about 15 crores, we grew to almost about 100 crore revenue size in this period.
So your goal when you got your first Series A to what your projection was achieved completely.
Yes, it was achieved, but not in the same time period. We had achieved it. We had obviously written much shorter time periods. We achieved it a little longer, but we did achieve our goals. And in that phase, our company also transitioned multiple times. The kind of customer segments that we had to work with. See, one mental shift. Let me talk to you about this, which is with the same theme. For example, in about 2011-12, we were close to about 100 crore, about 80, 90, 70, 80 crore kind of level. And then we were saying, what next? Okay. And we are already part of Manipal. So then typically in large company, if you do a 20-25% growth, people are happy really and all that. But here as an entrepreneur, you're really looking at leaps. So then I said that we should be a 500 crore company. Okay, we'll be close to 100 crore in the one year or two. We should be a 500 crore company. Now, 500 crore company, I said, see, till now, a lot of organic thinking has happened. Now we'll bring in external thinking. So I said, let me get a consultant. So I got a strategy consultant, and he did a 4-month exercise in building a business plan to build a 500 crore company. And it was very revealing. Because the first thing he told me was, as a 100 crore company, your biggest account is maybe 7, 8, 9 crores. Okay, or 10 crores, biggest account. He says, if you're being a 500 crore company, your biggest account has to be 40 crores, 50 crores. Okay. Now, so in my sales team, in my imagination, we could not imagine a 50 crore client only. Because we did not know in Indian market who will give you 50 crore of business. So then he actually said, okay, let me solve the problem. And he was a very good number cruncher. He did a lot of data analysis and he figured out that there's actually external market he mapped, and he said there are actually clients like that. That is when this whole government thing that we talked about, government. He said the government has not outsourced its big exams, like the CAT exam, the JE exam. Okay, he says they will, and there were signs of them getting outsourced. Right, but because we were also not competing for many of them, it was not in our universe. So then he systematically plotted that. He actually did painstaking work. He listed some 100 different exams, like even the state entrance exams, police exams. He said all of them are paper pencil, and there is a whole tendency to bring transparency there. It's happening in bits and pieces. Chandrababu Naidu is doing something, Mr. Modi is doing something, but that momentum you should lead. And that will give you this. In fact, he said there's a 100 crore client also which is possible. Wow. He projected that.
Okay.
So then that whole thing became, and when I looked at the data, it was so shocking to me. But then
and this is one segment you hadn't considered also.
We had considered, but very limited. We are still working with 2-3 crore contracts, 1 crore, 2 crore contract. We've never thought this big. Now for like the IIT, JEE entrance exam to get outsourced, it's a different order of selling and working
absolutely.
and even seeding the thought and getting that organization to outsource it. I mean, that is a big thing. So now he said, if you have to do that, you need people who have done that before, who is not your team at all. You don't have even a single gentleman there in your team, and you need to bring in people. Then we were scouting, and we found that in many of the big IT companies, there are people like that who do government sales and whose order books are like 300 crores, 400 crores. I was shocked even meeting people like that. And then they said how this whole tendering process happens. It's a 2-year journey to prepare the tender and to get yourself specced in and to then fight the tender and to get I have a whole revelation. Then that's when we hired our first serious government sales guy.
Okay.
And very heavy, very costly resource. We hired that guy. He thinks very differently. So 2 lessons here. One is this whole external strategy consultant honestly was very, very valuable. And many things that he recommended were actually things that we required. Even partnerships, strategic partnerships, delivery side, technology upgrades, whole new platform being developed, why that is required. See, intuitively you can know, but when you're operating at scale of 70, 80 crores, then you need systematically to do this. So this was an intervention that was there. But anyway, we didn't execute that fully. So by the time we reached about 100 crores, this time, then what happened was we're working with Manipal. And Madan and Mohan had already transitioned to other roles in Manipal itself.
Okay.
In the group.
So they got absorbed inside the group.
Because the group also felt that 3 people are not required to run one company, and all 3 founders are a very valuable resource for us. So we'd like to utilize them. So Madan had moved to a strategy role, Mohan had moved to a technology role, global technology role, and all that. We had moved. And also helped us in terms of managing our own career aspirations and all that. And I was a CEO and I was running it. Somewhere in this journey, I realized now it's working like a corporate, where they're asking you to do a 20% growth and they're happy with that growth and all that.
That's
in
not
Manipal, some leadership change happened which triggered this thoughts. That's when around 2013-14, around 13, I realized that my journey within Manipal is ending and I don't want to be in a corporate. And I also realized that 15 years I've been an entrepreneur and I'm not a corporate warrior.
Correct.
I am not fit to be in a corporate. I realized that very clearly. That I can't manage the corporate expectations and the corporate way of working at all. My whole instinct is very different. For example, to one of my bosses, then I'd projected a number of whatever. I said from 100 we'll go to 150 crores or something like that, it said. And that year we didn't do 150, we did about 125 or something we did. So he was very livid. He said, how can you, a CEO, tell me 150 crores and you did only 125? I said, but we grew from 90 to 125. It's a big growth, right? And but next year maybe we'll not do 150, we'll do bigger. That's the 5-year roadmap to 500 crores you put. He said, but I don't care about 5-year road. He told me that.
Directly, I don't care about that?
He said, that's all okay. That's all your management thinking, jargon for board. That year number, it has to be hit. Well, he was saying the right things because, you're this thing about the number that you project and achieve is very important. But entrepreneurs don't think like that. They think in leaps, right? For me, that bigger number is definitely real, but I'm not going into in a very linear way.
Correct.
It is 2 jumps. At 1 year, it takes time to prepare the organization also. So I could sense that this is in this conversation. He actually said, then we argued and I said that, don't you understand that what we've done, while we've fallen short of numbers, all this is preparation to be a big leap.
Correct. You have set the stage now.
He said, you have to prepare, Murli, but in spite of that, you have to hit the number. So I said, if I don't do that, then I can't do one and I can't do both.
Correct.
So in this, somehow I felt this is not the way thing for me. So
even your first 2 corporates, you literally ran your own projects.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So then that's when it was I want to step out, and I stepped out. And obviously in me, the entrepreneurial instinct was there from my childhood. So I then wanted to do another 2 startups. At this time I had as an entrepreneur, you typically have many ideas in your mind, and I had some 3-4. And this time I was more ambitious. I said, I'll execute the 3 or 4 together.
Okay.
I'll not do one in sequential order, but maybe one I'll be hands-on. The other 2 I could be in founding investor, find teams and all that. So I went to one Thai meeting and it was an Ask Me Anything meeting, and people were just getting up and saying what they're doing. I said, I've just finished a company, I've sold a company, and I'm about to step off. And I have 3 more ideas. I want to do 3 more startups and looking for founders. So actually some 3-4 people just came, and one guy was very shocked. And he said, I'm shocked, yaar. You should be enjoying your this thing. You should be enjoying your money you made. And why do you want to do 3 more startups? I said, I'm excited. Yeah. All 3 ideas are exciting me, and I want to do something and all that. Then he said, okay, let's meet up for coffee and we'll talk about it. And then I described all the 3 ideas. He picked one of them. It was a food idea. So that's when my next completely dramatically different from education and skills to food. We built a QSR chain.
Okay.
Where we were trying to, the problem we were solving was that, see, in Bangalore, we have street corner bonda and pakoda shops, correct? We have these, and these are there very rare, and they're very popular dishes, and people eat them and all that, right? But I'd observed that a lot of us had stopped going to those shops because they're unhygienic and because afraid of the oil and all that. But the food is great.
Still tasty, yeah.
We like the
that
masala
snack
vade.
has to be there.
We like the mirchi bhaji, bonda, aloo bonda. We like all that, right? But we like it. So I was just thinking that if you make the same thing at home, we'll eat it. Okay, because
we're not eating it on the street.
But at home, you will not make it regularly.
Yeah.
And you also don't eat these things regularly, right?
Correct.
So then I figured out that if we can professionalize this and set up a bonda house, right? A Subway for bondas or a pizza corner of bondas, a branded shop So that was our next venture, which I started with this other gentleman called Indie Hop.
Indie hop.
Okay, so we called it Indian House of Pakodas,
Oh,
and
okay.
that was the name. Indie Hop was the short form, and we set up 3 stores: one Kormangla, one BTM, one in HSR, and great fun executing it, learning about the retail food industry, quick service industry, QSR format, the store economics, how to make it work, how to produce standardized food every day, how to create the menu. A lot of learning around that.
And across 3 counters as
Out
well.
of 3 counters. We started with Kormangla, and within about 8 months, then we started the other 2. And store location, a lot of learning. So this venture ran for about 2-3 years, and then it closed down. And the reason for close down was the business was successful, but the 3 founders who came on board, they couldn't gel. So they had a fallout, and that fallout was very bitter. And then I encouraged the 2 of them to move out, and I told the main founder, this other guy, I was only an operating, investing partner. I was not operating here. I told that very clearly. And this guy, I encouraged this guy to find other partners, but he was not an entrepreneur. So he was coming from a large company, but this was his first entrepreneurial experience also. And he struggled to find another a founder. So that didn't work out. So it came to an end where he's just struggling, was alone, single man struggling.
Stretched too thin.
Stretched too thin. And initially you will go through a loss in these companies. You don't, store profitability was there, but at the company level profitability was not there still. So idea was a hit, but the business flopped.
So, and what was your next step?
In this one insight, I will tell you what happened was in this around 2016-17, and Swiggy was taking off then. Okay, and they were picking up orders and all that. So and I'm watching the numbers, and this guy's telling me, and he says 10% of our orders are online. I said, online? What do you mean online? Who's buying online for this? Then he says, no, there's a new company called Swiggy. They do this. You don't know about them. And I said, yeah, I don't know. Then they said that they come and they pick up orders and all that. I said, really? And but they ask a lot of money and all that from us, but still it's profitable. Something is telling me. And the number was constantly like 5, 10, 15% it was there, right? And then I was intrigued because our ticket size was about 100 rupees, 100, 120 rupees, like one packet of pakodas, that much only, right? So 110 rupees somebody's buying and getting shipped.
Yeah.
And I was observing that as the early days of online food ordering, actually, right? Zomato and Swiggy both were active then, and early days. And I was observing that kids in hostels and young people in hostels were buying.
Wow.
So HSR hostel guy will buy from Kormangla. They were ordering, and they were from the BTM shop, from and they were buying like that, right? And he was saying this whole thing happens. So the insight here is, see, as an entrepreneur, I was actually parallel building something else, so I was not paying full attention to it. But entrepreneur, these are signs you have to observe. Now, if this guy had observed this, and whatever other fights he's having from his co-founder, if they had resolved that, and we just survived, we could, and the product was successful because offtake retail was there and online retail offtake was there. We could have forget the stores. We could have become a in-house online brand only.
Wow. It could be something like a cloud kitchen you're running it across.
Absolutely. And brands like Samosa King now and all, we could have been a big brand like that. We could have been a big, because the product menu was super. And we were actually successful. People would wow. So he had just to be patient and observe the thing. And so, but this collapsed. And so as my family says, we spent 25 lakhs and ate 5,000 pakodas. Costliest pakodas we ever ate in our lives. and to rub it in, my family says, you cooked some of those pakodas also, because some of those days when the cook was not there, you stood in the counter.
You actually did that?
Yeah, we did that.
Lovely.
We did that. I have a photograph with my IM batchmates visiting me, and I was serving the pakoda.
Oh,
so they said, this is iconic, man. We got served by like a successful entrepreneur. No, we did that. We were hands-on. On the weekends, I would spend time. Yeah, I was spending time on the weekends only. Right? So this was one. Then the other one I did then was, which is I'm running currently also, is called Lodestar. So Lodestar is a career guidance company. And this insight was there when we were running MeritTrac itself. MeritTrac, we were assessing...
It's almost like a progression.
MeritTrac, we were assessing college grads for entry into companies. But we figured out that many of these people who are even getting jobs in a big company, in a big MNC tech company, are still unclear about why they did engineering and why they're doing the tech job, etc. So we figured out the fundamental problem about career choices, education choices is in high school. and it's in the 9th grade to 12th grade kind of a thing. So we're imagining this while we were building MeritTrac towards the end 2011-12 itself. The preparation for this was happening.
Okay.
So there was an ex-MeritTracker called Krishna who had left MeritTrac, and he was freelancing for some time, and he was very impatient to build his own company. So he had come back and he was asking me, give me a project, what I want to do something. So I had given him this project. I said, do the research on it. And so for year 2000, in the year 2012-13, he had done background research on this project, and this has evolved parallelly. So when I decided to leave, then we teamed up, and then we did this. So that's the next. So here we are doing career guidance. It's an online career guidance platform, and we're solving the problem. So typically career guidance has been very unstructured, where people who have gyan about an industry are just giving gyan.
Correct.
It's more personalized. There are assessments, but beyond the assessments, the rest of the information is not very organized. At least it was not when we started in 2014-15.
So it's basically, it's just like an aunt telling you, hey, you're talented in this.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are 3 industries I am open to. So this
Yes.
is what future might be.
So very, very, anecdotal kind of an advice and personal advice, kind of opinionated advice. Second thing is, even if there are some psychologists doing an assessment, they are not using the assessment and matching it with industry data.
Okay.
Like the assessment is throwing up something and they're broadly saying, yeah, you're good at sales, but they don't even know the multiple options in sales or the roles in sales or what you could do. They don't know the difference between sales and marketing and digital marketing. They don't know advertising. They're not granular, in a very granular way, they're not putting it together. So we built a whole architecture to put that together. It's not just assessments, but all the data tagging of multiple courses, colleges, exams, the data tagging and algorithm building of what will match to what.
Okay.
So that whole
fantastic.
algorithm we built here. So we made this whole process of advice giving, that anecdotal advice giving, in a platform algorithm way.
So in this, students who are in their mid-high school come, get assessed. Yes. You map their talents.
Yes.
And you map their attributes.
Yes.
And then advise them that these are the different strengths you have. These are the educational options you have, and
Yes.
these are the different career growths that will come out of them.
Yes. And all that mapping is using a platform. So it is not a counselor imagining a platform.
Okay, so there's an algorithm that will...
Algorithm, yes. All the mapping is step by step, it's an algorithm. And then we built a whole scientific process of how this decisioning will happen also. It's not just a one-time mapping, but a mapping, then some decision, and then second mapping, decision. It's like a sequential iterative process that we built.
Oh, fantastic.
So I'll give you an example of that. For example, if you say that I'm a creative person, okay. Now a creative person can get mapped to many creative jobs. So one of them is being an architect. The other is maybe an interior designer. Then you have a graphic designer. Then you have a fashion designer. Then you have a UX designer. Then you have an animation design or animation. Then you have product design. Now, if you look at all these careers from architect to say product design, each of them are in a different industry. Graphic is different, animation is different, fashion design is different, jewelry design is different. They're in a different industry by itself. The kind of education required is different. The kind of additional skills required is different. Right? So it is not a direct mapping.
Correct.
But if your algorithm doesn't throw up that creativity maps to all this, then, and for each one of them, there are other requirements. For example, architect means you have to take science.
Correct.
So you have to be good in math and creativity.
Yep.
That is the logic, right? So things like that. Or if you have to be in fashion, then you have to be good at certain other skills and creativity. UX, you have to be good in some other skills. You have to have a liking for technology at least. So that way. So some of these other attribute mapping, we have done very systematically in the platform. So that enables the decision to be very scientific and granular and all that. And then taking the requirements for this. For example, if you say for product design, okay, this is the course and this is the exam, this is the degree. That mapping is also done on the platform. So the counselor doesn't have to just grapple or remember. The moment you click on the platform, all this information just flows out and the mapping happens.
Oh, fantastic. So somebody can come to you and then just realize this is my talent. Now, these are the courses I rely on. If I choose to get to, say, UI design, I just get into these courses. I have an additional skill set add on.
Correct.
And then I'm open to the industry.
Correct. So which entrance exam to write, which college to go, where to apply, all the things are linked in the whole platform. So it enables you to make a very granular and a good decision using a combination of technology, data, algorithm. So
Wow, fantastic.
that, and the counselor is there, obviously, who's interpreting this for you and helping you to make choices.
Okay, so you have a counselor who's aided by the system.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
is counseling the student and in our case, the parents as well.
Exactly. So it's an expert system. We built an expert system. That's why the decision system we built. So we've elevated the anecdotal, memory-based, limited information thing. So now random like medical technology or hospital administration careers like that can pop up, which earlier was never popping up. For example, if I like bio, but I don't want to be a doctor, then but I have managerial instinct
Skill
and
sets
ability,
and assets,
then I can
yeah.
be a medical administrator, right? I can be a hospital administration. There's a hospital administration course itself. There's a master's and bachelor's degree in that. So you can do that. So this is how diverse thing can be mapped, but this mapped in a very structured scientific. It's not at it's like not serendipity, or it's not that the counselor has to instinctively see this and then map. It can be done in a more structured algorithm way. So that's what we've achieved.
So if students or their parents would want to reach you, how do we go? Do we give them a telephone number and a website at the description of this video?
Yeah, absolutely. They can visit lodestar.guru and they can
So lodestar.guru and then they can get through. And,
absolutely.
So what was your experience in the second and the third startup? How much of the success and the experience that you gained from one, is this going to be much easier, or the same challenges will replay again in a different format? What was that experience like?
So I think each startup is as difficult as the first startup. Okay, I think if any entrepreneur is trying to do a second one, I think they should not underestimate the thing, because especially if you're not doing a startup in the same domain. Okay, see, even though the Lodestar is an education domain, but it is school and different market. Schools are very different. They behave very differently than corporate customers of
And
MeritTrac.
the objective is also different.
Object different, so the customer set is different, the behavior is very different, right? Though many times all this is clubbed under skill tech, edutech broadly, but we should not get fooled by that. So which means you're building a completely new baby. Okay, it's like your second child or third child, and the child is going to have the same set of problems that you had. Your experiences, or you have new learning. Okay, so one, you have to be mentally. That's what I have learned. If you look back, that you have to be really mentally alert to more challenges. And second thing is that because you built the first thing, okay, and because if you've succeeded in the first thing, and that has taken you 15 years, 18 years to build, and the last 7-8 years is a lot of success and a lot of scale. So you're actually like a big company guy, right?
Correct.
But when you do the startup, you're back to your
First
year
few
of
days, yeah.
MeritTrac. So your behavior has to change. Okay, for me it took time, actually, honestly, because see, you're making calls. For example, here now because that was a 100 crore company. You're confident about larger investments.
Correct.
Okay? So it looks like, okay, theek hai yaar, fine, this 30 lakhs will spend there. Okay, you're not doing the bootstrapping that you were doing earlier. Okay, and startups need that bootstrapping or the slow burn product discovery phase. Okay, and both the ideas I was doing, Indie Hop and this, were actually very innovative. So they're not like, I'm just not filling a gap, it's already in the market.
Correct.
Right? So product is completely new to the market. So which means it requires slow burn and bootstrap. So I forgot this lesson. And I thought that, okay, with my smarter skills and my ability to raise, and I could quickly raise money in both the places.
Because of the first success.
Credibility is there.
Yeah.
And investors came. And they also expect magic immediately. And the team also, the way you're talking to the team itself is like much more confident. They'll say, okay, let's do this. Okay, if you say, sir, should we do, for example, in Lodestar, we said, shall we do a career competition, which will run in 100 schools. I said, yeah, great idea. Let's run it. Okay. Now career 100 schools, they all signed up for it. Schools all send their students, and it's like they have to write a quiz and they have to give. So we got data of 100 schools and 100 students. So we got 10,000 data quickly. So then we imagine the 10,000 will just call the parents and all buy. But the parent is, when the school kid has taken the test in the school, the parent is not even aware. So they don't even know anything about Lodestar. They don't know anything about anything. So yeah, cold call is going, saying that we did a test for your child in school and he's taken the Lodestar test. And the competition was run. the 100 people out of 10,000 who won the competition, their parents know us. That's all. The remaining 9,000 don't know us. So then the sales guy is not able to convince anybody. So they don't even know.
The parent is thinking the school gave some test and that's about it.
Yeah, and maybe some report came to me online or offline, but I don't even read the report, right? And they're not even warmed up to the idea of career counseling, right? They don't warmed up. So that warming up had not happened. So I'm jumping all that and doing big events, right? Look, this is a big entrepreneur behavior. Okay.
So that is what you mean by that slow burn has not yet happened.
Slow burn has not happened. The market is not warmed up, or you've not figured out the actual product market fit has not happened really. Because you're a confident entrepreneur and you have ability to imagine and convince people, you just imagine the market in your own way and you just jumped into the market, right? So that has been honestly a painful learning for me in Lodestar. IndieHop, we had some success and we had many such discoveries. Like Swiggy was a completely new factor, right?
Correct.
So now the whole strategy has to change, right? So that will only learn if you behave like a young entrepreneur. So in Lodestar, we actually stumbled, and then we had COVID. We had a lot of challenges. So we are still a growth phase company. We're not hit our fast growth in Lodestar. It's taken more time, honestly, and this is learning. So now, if I were to redo Lodestar, okay, I would not bring in the investment in the beginning.
Okay.
I would let the 2 years of cooking happen. Okay, I would experiment with projects and I would experiment and figure out what is the actual product that will work on the ground, even though it looks slow, even though it's like, boss, what are you doing? Why are you wasting time? And you like, but I would do that because that's the natural progression for the startup. So the analogy is that if you have a kid and the kid is crawling, you can't make the kid walk immediately. The kid will take 6 months to learn walking. Okay, you can't force fit the kid by just holding the cat's hand and walking along with it. No, you can't do all that. This is the analogy I'd like to give. Thing that even if you're doing a second and third startup, so now Lodestar is sort of hitting the comfortable phase, and now it's
back now into third gear now.
Yeah, now it's third gear. No, yeah, second gear still. I'll call it because I'm still comparing it to low MeritTrac scale. So I'm looking, it's still second gear, but it's at least gone to the second gear now, right? It's now I know what formulas are working, etc. One of the things in this, as a personally, that happens is if then success doesn't come, then as entrepreneurs we get frustrated. So I went through a lot of mental turmoil and frustration because I'm saying, boss, I know everything. Why is it not working? And you're then randomly trying ideas.
Okay.
Because you're getting an action mode and randomly trying ideas. You just have to be calm and withdraw and actually pause, reflect, and take it slowly. If you look at MeritTrac, actually our success came in 2002, 3 and 3, 4. So 2000 to 2002, we were not doing much. It's slow burn. It's getting cooked in our mind, cooked in the client's mind, slow burn is happening.
And I remember you telling that you're just talking to clients non-stop.
Yeah.
And then finally, after all that, it finally hits.
Yeah.
Now, that mindset has to be brought on to your second startup as well.
Exactly. This is one thing I would say. And you have to be again ready for complete failures. Right, complete failures for all random reasons it can fail. Like in IndieHop, it failed because the founders fought. Right,
Yeah.
no other. So you have to be ready for complete failure. So I think it's like a new startup all over again, and you have to have the mental energy and the mindset to do the new startup all over again. So you have to. For example, it's very difficult for me in Lodestar to then go and meet customers and do fresh sales calls because I have a very young sales team here. I don't have a leader. Like in MeritTrac, I would never have done that. The sales meeting would have been fixed. The last 7-8 years of MeritTrac, I'm the CEO of the company, and the sales hierarchy, not even the sales team, the hierarchy has fixed the meeting. Which means some manager, senior manager, GM have already talked to customer, fixed the meeting, and then you're going. Here, when I'm going in, so I used to go on to meet schools where I'm nobody there, right?
Yeah.
I'm sitting in I'm waiting in outside principals' cabins. I'm sitting there with other parents and everybody for a half an hour, 45 minutes. I've waited. I've done all that. So you have to get into a completely different. And in one of the learnings here was about the other learning about bringing co-founders. So I brought a old colleague of mine from one of my early companies to be a co-founder here, and he couldn't do this. For example, when he went to this first meeting with the principal, his whole body language was, he immediately sensed that he was an MD of a big company. And now he's in a startup and he's meeting a principal. And the principal, is not a very high executive.
And
they're senior in their own school.
In their school, they're the top boss.
The top bosses. So my body language was, I was calling her madam and I was like very full respectful and all that. This guy found it very amusing. So he couldn't control his amusement in the meeting itself. I could see the body language. He's smiling and he's sitting with back this thing and with legs stretched. And that lady actually observed that. From a corner of her, she observed why is he in such a casual manner. But actually, this guy is very senior in the industry, right? So, but he shouldn't have carried that attitude into that room.
So if you're not able to make that transition,
Fortunately, because I was an entrepreneur, I could actually make the transition.
Correct.
But it's not a difficult. It's a difficult transition, not an easy transition to make. Going back to being a sales guy again.
so you being an entrepreneur the second, third time is also indicative of the nature. Like starting the first library, you cannot not start something.
Yes, that's also my internal nature. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So if that is your nature, entrepreneurship is your path. And just by thing, does Lodestar also find out if you have entrepreneurial abilities?
Yes. Entrepreneurship is also a track in terms of a career.
Oh, fantastic.
We also help students to figure out that you are entrepreneurial and you should long term you can be a good entrepreneur. We tell people that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a child who is in the high school, please bring him to Lodestar. So we will find out if he can also be an entrepreneur like Murli.
Absolutely. Better entrepreneur.
Better entrepreneur than Murli. So Murli, I think we've had a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for getting on Conversations in Bangalore. And it's only apt that an entrepreneurial conversation in Bangalore has to be there. And I'm pretty sure Bangalore and even people who want to get to Bangalore and entrepreneurs everywhere, whoever is watching this, has had a fantastic masterclass and a ringside view of what entrepreneurship is and has that whole narration of the journey. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Shashank, for having me on this channel of yours, and love to have this conversation. It is a long conversation and we touched upon many aspects. Thank you for skillfully navigating the conversation and not letting, and maybe not ensuring that the entrepreneur doesn't run off into multiple things. But it was thoroughly enjoyable. Shashank, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and go ahead and share this channel with everybody you can find. Thank you, Murli.